Today, you're going to learn how to crush a can with style. Okay, that wasn't near as cool as I thought it would be. But what if I told you that you could crush a can using only air and some science know-how? Okay, for this experiment, you're going to need a couple of things. An empty can or two, about 1/4 a cup of water in the can, a stove top, a bowl of ice water, a pair of metal tongs, don't use plastic, I'll explain later, and safety glasses. Wait, what do you mean you don't have safety glasses? Well, it's a good thing you got me here. I mean, who doesn't show up to a virtual science experiment without safety glasses? Alright, well let me help you out. First, you're going to need a plan. It's always good to start with a plan before you start making your cuts. I found a clear plastic bottle that'll be perfect. Okay, in doing the design, I needed to decide if we're going to do a face shield or safety goggles. And after looking at the design, I realized that I could do safety goggles out of a face shield if I wanted to, but I couldn't go backwards. So let's go with the face shield. I used some scissors to poke a hole and then cut the top off of the bottle. Cut the bottom off and then cut a slit down the middle of it so that it opens up. Now you'll fit it around your face just to kind of get a good idea. And it already holds pretty well just with the natural curve of the plastic. But it needs a little bit more style, don't you think? So putting it on your face and looking in a mirror, or having someone else help, you can trace out an outline of what you're going to cut. You want to make sure you leave some room for your ears. And there you can see the lines that I'm going to cut. So cut them out, and now wrap it around the face to test it out to make sure. There's no undoing in this, so just take your time and make sure you have the right fit before you cut. Then if it still doesn't fit quite right, you can use scissors to kind of cut a small hole in the strips that go around the side of your head. And then you can use a rubber band to put inside that hole, if you have one, or hairband, whatever you got. Now that'll fit around your ear pretty easily and stay pretty snug. Or if you have another rubber band, you can tie it to the other side and pull it around the back of your head and get that tied. Okay, so back to our experiment now that you have safety goggles. You'll add 1/4 a cup of water to your aluminum can, and you'll see it's about right here. You'll put it on the stovetop and turn the heat on high. It can be an electric stovetop, just be very careful. This is where it gets hot and you don't want to touch it. You'll start to hear some bubbling. You want steam to be coming out of the top of it, and you want a really good boil inside the can. Then you'll use metal tongs to pick the can up and turn it upside down into the ice water. If you paid attention in science class, you know that water turns to a gas, but what you may not have realized is when it does, the molecules move 1,700 times further apart than they were before as a liquid. The water vapors that you're creating inside the can is actually pushing air out of the can. And when you turn it upside down in the cold water, based on Boyle's law, by cooling it down so quickly, the pressure on the outside of the can becomes greater than the pressure inside the can, which causes it to implode. Oh, and remember how I mentioned not to use plastic tongs? Yeah, well that's the can melted to the tongs. So you might want to wrap your tongs in aluminum foil or just use metal tongs. Now, using what we learned from gases expanding and contracting when being rapidly cooled, let's see if we can do the same thing with a solid. These are glass marbles being placed into a pot of boiling water, and you set a timer for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now these have already been on for a little while, but you can hear them dancing on the bottom of the pot. But you want them in there for a good long time to get nice and hot. Then you can scoop them out of the boiling water and drop them into the ice bath. Notice them here. Now look what happens when you drop them in. The outside of the glass shrinks as it cools, which collides with the hot, expanded interior, causing cracks. If you notice that your marble doesn't have that many cracks, you can drop them in the boiling water and then back in the ice bath, but if you do this too much, you might end up with a crack on the outside. So just be careful. But once you get the hang of it, you get some really cool looking marbles. And you can even wrap wire around it and make jewelry out of it.